Vocals can be one of the toughest tracks to edit and to mix and to get sounding good in your song. Luckily, here in GarageBand iOS on the iPhone or the iPad, we've got some pretty cool tools that are going to help us do this job. So in this video, I'm going to show you the process that I use to approach mixing vocals in my tracks. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete. This is Studio Live today, where I help you create, record, and release your best music. And in this video, as I said, we are approaching the vocals for this track. So at the moment, we've got our 4 tracks here. We've got piano, vocal, and stereo guitar. We've done a bit of a rough mix so far, just so that I can get things sounding okay. And now I'm going to dive in and tackle these vocals. We need to do some plugins, some EQ, some automation to get these vocals really popping and sitting nicely in the mix. At the moment, our mix sounds a little bit like this.
It's a common misconception.
So if anything, the vocals are a little bit loud there, especially in this sort of section. So we're going to use some automation to fix that. We're going to use our compressor, and we're going to use some other effects here to get this sounding right. Now, throughout this video, you're only going to hear mono audio, so apologies for that. I'm only recording this using the screen recorder, but at the end of this video, if you hang around, I will play you the track in its entirety, so you can take a listen to what the changes that we've made have done, although you won't have heard the original track, but you'll be able to hear the track with its static mix and with these vocals mixed into it. So we'll jump in now and get started on this one. So we've got our vocal here. Now the first thing I want to do is I can basically remove the start of this. So we're going to edit. We're just going to tap on the end here and drag this to here, just because we don't need any of that space. Now, if you watched a previous video, you'll know that that space is just blank audio anyway. But anyway, just to make it look nice, we're going to do that. Now, what I'm noticing here, first and foremost, is, and this has been bugging me for a while, is that this part of the song really pokes out. You can see here that this particular bit here is really, really loud. So the first thing I want to do is just to level this out, because if we play this section...
So what is to be done of it?
So that I like it, but it's too loud. So the first thing we're going to do is do a little bit of an adjustment here using our clip gain, which is a cool thing that we can do. So I'm going to tap here and I'm going to split. So I'm splitting the audio before there. I'm going to tap here just after it. Let's just do it right on the line there. Yep. Tap again and go split. And there we go. So now what I can actually do is I can tap on this piece of audio, tap it again, and go to settings. And because what I want to do, I could use automation for this, but I'm just going to drop the clip gain of this bit down by, say, 4 dB, and hit done. And so now if we play it back in the mix...
Done of it.
It just fits nicer because I was a little bit too loud on that bit. So it won't change the waveform, but it will actually reduce the volume. And I'll just have to remember that I've done that bit. So that is done now. Now let's get our plugins and EQ adjusted to get this vocal sounding good. Now, someone actually asked a question during the week, which is, how do I actually get my vocals sounding so clean, so such a little amount of background noise? Because if we solo this vocal, and we'll just play a part here, and you'll hear that in between the phrases, you're not hearing a whole lot of hiss or background noise or noise floor in there. Let's just play this now.
It's a thing that many...
So we don't have a whole lot of noise, and the reason for that is that what I use is I use an audio interface. I use my Steinberg UR12, I use a large diaphragm condenser, an MXL 550. I record at a low input volume, and I've got a video which I've just released all about how to normalize your volume after you've recorded at low. But the biggest mistake I see people making is that they turn up the gain on their input for their microphone and they're recording at too high a level. What that does is it raises up the noise floor and you get additional noise in there. Now, you might be thinking you can use a noise gate on here as the first thing if you do have a noisy vocal, and you can. So let's tap our plugins and EQ and go plugins and EQ here. You'll notice I have the noise gate off because I don't like the noise gate at all, because what it actually does, a good noise gate will actually remove a little bit of the vocal sound, a little bit of the volume. The noise gate here in GarageBand iOS unfortunately removes everything, so it's just got a dB threshold here and it completely cuts it off. Let's take a listen to what it'll actually do if we use the noise gate.
That the comfort that we have right now.
See, And yes, you can play with that and sort of drive it up and down and find the sweet spot here, but I really don't like that all or nothing sound you get with the noise gate. So we're going to forget the noise gate. We're not using that in this song. So what do we do? Well, we're going to do some automation. We're going to get to that in a little while. But first of all, let's choose what sort of sound we want. Now, I happen to actually really like the lead vocal preset. I don't like it for recording. I use Punchy Presence for recording, but I use the lead vocal here. So actually, we're going to tap on the vocal, the microphone here, and come in here and then tap in the top left, and it'll be right in the middle if you're on the iPad, and tap Punchy Presence, and we're going to change this to lead vocal. So what this adds is some voice hall down in the bottom right here, vocal hall, which we can dial in there. It puts our overdrive on, which I almost always use on here. We've got our compressor. We've got pitch control, which we'll instantly put down because too much pitch control sounds really bad. And we've got a tone knob here. So we can now go back to our plugins and EQ here, tap on that one, and here we get full control over all of these, as well as our visual EQ, which I'll turn on because we'll be doing some EQing in a moment. Now let's just play this back. We'll go back to our track view here. Let's just play. We'll unsolo that, and we'll come back over here and just see what it sounds like without doing anything, just with these lead vocals enabled.
Deserts too. It's a dream of weekend breaks. It's a fear as big as speaking up.
So that's not bad. And this is why I like lead vocals, because just those default settings tend to, for my sort of music at least, and your music may vary, but for acoustic tracks like this, the lead vocals gives you a pretty good starting point. So what I'm going to do here, first and foremost, is I like a little bit more compression than what we have here. So I'm going to dial this one up to maybe 6:1. And if you want to learn about compression, I've got a video all about how to use the compressor here. And pretty much everything that we cover here is going to be linked in the description below, because I've got a heap of GarageBand Quick Jam videos that show you how to use these. So I won't go in detail about how I'm using these. I'll just show you how I'm setting them, and then you can check out the other videos if you want to learn more about how to do what I'm doing here. So let's dial up the compression there. Let's just play back, and I'll just dial this compression in.
And a fact that never fades. The only thing that stays the same is that things will change. And you can choose.
Okay, so it might be a little bit loud on the vocal there, so we might dial the volume down a bit, but I like that level of compression. So I've got the threshold at -22, and you could see there that I was just dialing the threshold up and down to find the sweet spot there, and the ratio I've bumped up here to 7.4:1, and I've actually dropped the attack down to make that a little bit quicker as well on the compressor. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tap edit here, and let's get rid of this effect EQ. I'll be really honest, I don't even really know what that does. It's a little tone knob. I don't use it. I don't really like it. But what I do want is I want to add in a track echo. So to thicken this track, I want a bit of a, probably similar to a slap back kind of delay. So I want a really quick delay. Let's go with a 1/16 delay here. Now we'll play it back. I'll leave it really wet to start with, and then I'll dial it back, because we won't want it this level of wet, I can assure you, but we do want a little bit of it. So let's just play back, and I'll dial this in as we go.
To kick and scream, but things will change. So what is to be done of it? Oh, and what else do we say when everything we know and love?
So something about like that. So we've got 7% wet, 88% dry in there. The color tone here, the color slider is our tone, so I've dropped that down a little bit. I got that down -23. That just basically means whether it's more bassy or more treble on the actual echo itself. So yeah, basically you're EQing the delay sound. So that is sounding good there. My overdrive here, I'm going to come in here and I'll probably just pull this back a little bit. It needs a bit of drive, but probably not that much. And I'll drop this down a bit. Let's just play it, and I'll tweak this.
Is changing every day. The only thing that does.
yeah, round about there. And then our track reverb is set in here by default. I'll probably lengthen this out a little bit because I kind of want that longer tail on our reverb, and 21% wet's probably a bit much, but let's just play it and have a little bit of a fiddle.
Doesn't change is that things will change, and you can choose to kick and scream.
Okay, it's starting to sound pretty good. Our vocal is coming together here. Let's go to our visual EQ now, and this is sort of the last stage. You can do this any way you like, but I'm just sort of showing you my process here. I'm going to play with some of these frequencies and just see if there's any frequencies that are popping out that don't sound good, I'll drop those down. Any that I want to increase, I will pop up. So let's play this back now and have a little bit of a play.
But things will change. Thing that doesn't change if things will change, and you can choose to kick and scream, but things will change.
Okay, so what I've got in there is I've got a little bit of a cut around 1K. I've boosted, which is a bit weird if you're used to EQing. I've boosted at 200 hertz because I just tend to find the vocals sound a little bit thin when I've recorded them through my large diaphragm condenser, and I've just given a little bit of air up here at 10K. If that means nothing to you, want to learn about the EQ, check out the video all about EQ, which is going to be linked up the top and down below as well. Let's hit done now. So yeah, look, it says it's peaked there, but it hasn't actually because that was just me playing with the EQ and putting it really high. So let's take this back now to, let's not do that. Let's take our playhead back towards the start and just have a listen to this track now, and I'll play with the master volume and just see if I can get this static volume sitting right.
Common misconception, it's a thing that many fear, that the comfort that we have right now.
So there you go. I think that's actually sounding reasonably good. We've got the plugins, we've got the EQ, we've got the settings sounding like they should. Now, the last thing I'll do, and I won't make you watch me do all of this, but you'll notice that in between phrases, you can hear my breathing, you can hear a bit of mouth noise, some stuff that we don't really want in there. And I showed you before why we won't use the noise gate, because that's going to completely cut off our sounds and not sound good. But what I'm going to use is some automation on this vocal. So this is sort of the last thing that I'll do. Once I've got all my settings right, I've got my static mix about right, I'll do this last. The reason being that once you add automation, you can't then come back and adjust your volume. So we're going to tap on the microphone, we're going to tap automation, and here we are with our automation. Now I have a heap of videos about automation, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing you this, but let's just do a really quick version so you can see how I'll do this with my automation of my breath removals here. So let's play this back.
It's a common misconception, it's a thing.
So you can hear that there's that breath in there. Like, that one's not actually too bad. I probably wouldn't bother doing that, but let's just find some other spots where we might need to remove it. There's a spot. So did you hear, you can't even see it, but you can hear that horrible mouth noise. Yeah, even the word mouth noise sounds horrible, doesn't it? Let's zoom in and take a look, and you'll just listen really carefully and you'll hear a little click there.
Right now.
Just there. So what we can do here is let's turn on automation up here in the top left. We're going to tap, and we're going to tap, and we're going to tap. So we're basically creating a little triangle here, which is going to be our triangle of reduction in volume. And we're not going to take it all the way down. We're just going to reduce the volume. Now, this is what I was saying, the difference between doing automation like this and using a noise gate is that I don't have to, I don't want to do that. I don't have to turn the volume all the way down. I can just reduce the volume. So let's play this back again with this little reduction in our volume here.
Right now is going to
So I can still probably hear that. So with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another point here, and then I'm going to drop that down because we do Because it's that sort of mouth noise, it's not breathing. Breathing I can tolerate a little bit louder, but those noises I don't like. Let's try this again.
Right now is going.
Okay, that's okay, but it stopped it too soon. So we'll just drag these across, and you can see that it takes a little bit of trial and error to get this sort of stuff right, but it's worth it in your final mix, I can assure you. So try it one more time.
Right now is going to
There you go, we got rid of that click noise. So what I'll be doing now is I'll be going through this vocal and basically doing that wherever something stands out. And don't do every breath, don't make it sound like you're a robot and you don't breathe at all. You can if you want to, but it's going to take a long time and it's going to sound really unnatural. Just a few of these little tweaks where it's really popping out is just going to make your mix sound really professional. So there you go, that is how I approach mixing a vocal here in GarageBand iOS. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this automation. I'm going to get this vocal sounding pretty much where I want it to be and mixed into this track, and then at the end of this video I will play back the finished version, which is going to be pretty close to my final mix. But for now, if you've got any comments, questions or suggestions, leave those down below, and I'll see you on the next video after we take a listen to the version of this track.
It's a common misconception. It's a thing that many fear, that the comfort that we have right now is going to disappear. The only thing that stays the same is that things will change, and you can choose to kick and scream, but things will change. It's a hope of kings and peasants too. It's a dream of weak and brave. It's a fear as big as speaking up, and a fact that never fades. The only thing that stays the same is that things will change, and you can choose to kick and scream, but things will change. So what is to be done of it? Oh, and what else do we say when everything we know and love is changing every day? The only thing that doesn't change is that things will change, and you can choose to kick and scream, but things will change. The only thing that doesn't change is things will change, and you can choose to kick and scream, but things will change. Yes, things will change.
Hey, thanks for sticking around. I hope that gave you some ideas and some tips for how you can approach your vocals in your tracks. And speaking of tips, we've got 2 more videos that are going to help you out, linked down below. You can also subscribe to the channel by clicking on the Studio Live Today icon, or head over to studiolivetoday.com for more audio goodness.